Hello, I'm Kris Gorriarán, the president of Fluke Health Solutions. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to speak with an amazing group of female leaders from FHS. Fluke Health Solutions is comprised of four businesses: Landauer, Fluke Biomedical, RaySafe, and Victorine. We serve hospitals and nuclear power plants to improve safety and compliance. The vision of FHS is to empower our everyday heroes to focus only on protecting lives. And our everyday heroes are biomedical engineers, radiation safety officers, physicists, physicians, and leaders in industrial companies and in hospitals that we serve. So as I reflect on this year's International Women's Day and breaking the bias, I see how each of you that are joining me here today is paving the way for future generations of female leaders. I appreciate you joining the conversation with me today to really tell your story, to help inspire other future leaders at FHS and outside of our business. So what makes me really proud is that I had such a long list of leaders, female leaders from FHS, that I had to select from today. And I want to say thank you to all of you, but also the other female leaders within FHS that are part of our business and part of our culture and making such an amazing impact on the growth and culture within the business. So I'm going to kick off the discussion today with our VP of Operations, Christy Mossman. Christy is one of our more senior executives, and she brings just a wealth of experience. Christy, you faced, I'm sure, a number of barriers in your career as a result of being a woman and as a result of being around for many decades at Fortive and the businesses within Fortive. So if you have, how did you overcome them to become the leader you are today?
You know, Christiane, you think about barriers. I think about back in my early days, I actually played sports and started sports when women didn't actually participate much in sports. So it was a little bit of a barrier, but I was very, very fortunate to have a grandfather and a father who taught me that barriers can always be broken, and don't allow barriers or mental barriers stop you from doing anything that you'd like to do. And so I took that, and they were my support all the way through college and then into my career. And what really excites me about being part of Fortive and FHS is I was there in the early days when we started this journey, where I was kind of the only woman in the room many, many times. But being part of Fortive, I saw the transformation on how important it was to promote women and get more women and get more diversity and more ideas. And people realized that women brought a lot to the table. And so I've seen over the years this journey where now I look around and I'm so excited because there's so many women in great roles. And then all the up and comers, future leaders that we brought within the organization. It's super exciting. And for me, and I hope everybody else is, I'm using that mentorship that I had with my grandparents and my father, and I want to do that with my daughter and my granddaughter, and for anybody else in the workforce that I could mentor as well, because it's super exciting times right now.
Thanks, Christy. So I'm going to pivot to Natalia. Natalia Guez is a product manager with FHS. Natalia, I've been really excited to see you thrive here at FHS after your internship. So Natalia came for her internship and then decided to come back full time and start her career with Fortive and FHS. Can you talk a little bit about why?
Yeah, and actually Christy touched on this a little bit. A huge reason why I decided to come back to FHS full time was mentorship here. So while I was an intern, I had a chance to meet with you, Kris, on a monthly basis. I had recurring meetings with other female product managers who really invested the time to make sure that I had a successful summer experience and project. And during grad school, something that was ingrained in me is to go to a company where people are willing to invest in you, in your development. And that's really what I did when coming back to FHS. I wanted to continue fostering those female relationships and made sure that I was able to kick off my career at a place that was really invested in my success as a female in tech.
So that's fantastic. How are you feeling that you're personally making an impact and your ability to promote inclusion and diversity at FHS? And can you speak to any ways that FHS actively works to increase that inclusion and diversity for women?
Yeah, so FHS has an I&D council, or an Inclusion and Diversity Council, that I'm so proud to be a part of. And we do have monthly newsletters. We have monthly or recurring what we call courageous conversations. And I'm able to work alongside other women of color on this council. And it's such a privilege to be able to not just work alongside of them, but really promote having a more inclusive and diverse culture at FHS, where we make sure that people feel and are heard through different activities that we do.
Thanks. So I want to pivot to Morella. Morella Kerr is our Director of Dosimetry and Radiological Services. Brings a very highly technical background and a lot of years of history with Landauer. And I know you're passionate about building inclusive and diverse teams, Morella. So are there any projects or moments in your career that you were able to make that a primary focus?
Thank you, Kris. I would say the one that really delighted me, it was one of the projects that I worked on last year. And it was while I was participating in an accelerated leadership experience program, which in our company is a program dedicated to leader development. So talking about development, I think this company invests a lot in that. So the project we worked on was to increase diversity and inclusion awareness. And we've started with our frontline leaders and wanted to see how we can offer them the tools and what they need in order to increase awareness. Our tagline at the time was "Inclusion goes viral," and we were so successful. You would be proud of the team here on how they are able to recognize behavior that would or would not fit in what we call inclusive behavior. So quite a success there.
And did that work lead to success with the team?
Absolutely. Our engagement score on diversity and inclusion part increased quite a bit also. So yes.
Right, that's great. So Enid Donnell, she's our Director of Business Development in our industrial segment. And Enid, at your time at FHS, you've had an exceptional ability to really be successful in whatever we've thrown your way. And we throw many things your way, new things it seems each year. And you're managing large government customers to large industrial customers in the nuclear space. So what do you think has been instrumental in your growth at Victorine and in the government business?
So, Kris, I'll have to start that I didn't realize being female was a limitation. So when I first got into a very technical role, especially out of college and going into a very technical industry, it's very male dominated. And the first realization came to me when I was at starting with Landauer. Wasn't my first role, but it was my first on the commercial side. And I'm at a trade show and I'm at the booth and waiting to answer questions from anybody who wants to come in. I had a male colleague standing next to me. So a physicist comes up to us in the booth and starts asking questions. So I'm about to answer some of them. And he immediately turns to my male colleague and continues to ask the questions. My male colleague is nodding like he's understanding. Get to the end of the questions, and my male colleague goes, "Well, your questions are very interesting, but Enid Donnell here needs to answer those for you, and she'll take care of you on that." And I think he was so shocked, and I realized, oh my gosh, I have to really do a little bit more to prove that you're just as smart and you can do the job just like anybody else. And it worked out great because he wouldn't leave and he kept talking and talking and talking. And so now, and I still see him over the years, but I look at that as, okay, how do I, really pivot and set the path for women to be able to be that technical liaison, to be able to do that kind of role. And I will say, coming from Landauer into the FHS organization, I have to thank you for allowing me to take on these different positions, because it's been truly impactful for me personally, and I hope it was also for those that I work with, especially in the all the men that I work with.
So I'm curious, has your gender had an impact personally on the way you've measured your own success?
Not at first, but now I do, yes. So, knowing that people are actually very dependent on, hey, can you answer this question? Or they come to me for advice. So you know this industry, so yes, I'd have to say that it was something that a hurdle I jumped, and I think proven itself that, we're here just to do our jobs. We shouldn't have to rely, think about, oh, we're female, so we have more of a different kind of challenge, if you will. I'd like to get to the day where we don't have to think about that we are women and we can just do our jobs.
That's great. So Purnima Gopalakrishnan is our new Vice President, General Manager for Product Marketing and our physics businesses. And Purnima, you and I have spoken a lot about personal board of directors. And for those that don't know, what is it? And how do you recruit?
Yeah, thank you, Kris. So I have benefited tremendously from having a very good team of mentors, people that challenge me, who I call my personal board of directors. So receiving advice from someone who is much more experienced has taught me to appreciate mentors and ultimately even led me to understand how a carefully curated board of directors can benefit a business as well as a person. So your personal board of directors are advisors that will offer different approaches, hold you accountable, provide guidance throughout your career. So how do you get to create one? To create your board, seek relationships with different people who can provide insight based on their skills and backgrounds. It's similar to what a business would seek in their corporate board members. Remember, you are creating an informal board here, so you won't be calling them for board meetings, but you will be reaching out to them for advice. And who would you see in your personal board of directors? My advice would be an industry expert. A very strong supporter could be a mentor, a friend, someone who's a thoughtful critic, and a networker. I would say at least these four categories are an absolute must on your personal board of directors. And I'm hoping that we all experience the benefit of that I have and Kris and I have seen in our lives from this team.
Thanks, Purnima. So the theme of International Women's Day is break the bias. So how has gender bias had an impact on your career?
And so I'll probably even start very early on. So I grew up in India, in a household with a brother and me. So it was a guy and me, and across all through childhood, whether we was sports or wanting to go and take some extra classes, it would be a neighbor that would remind my parents of why are you having her go in there? Or it could be when I was deciding to go to business school, I had relatives reach out to my parents to say, she's married, she's a computer science graduate, why does she need to do more of this? So make no mistake, bias is all around us. We face it in our own lives, and because millions and bits of information is thrown at us every day, our brain, consciously or otherwise, processes it by first categorizing it into patterns: gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic background, outfit, profession, ability, sexuality. We're stereotyping people all the time. This is why I think it's very important to stop from time to time, reflect on our own prejudices and how they show up in our actions, and examine our biases. This International Women's Day, let's break the bias.
Thanks, that's outstanding. It's great feedback. That takes us to Anna. Anna Stoyanovich is our Vice President of HR. So Anna has been with us about half a year, 3/4 of a year, started last year. So still relatively new to the business, but making a very significant impact early on. So Anna, why did you join FHS? And what keeps you here? What keeps you at Fortive?
Wonderful. Hi, Kris. Hi, everybody. So I'll start by answering why I joined Fortive first. And so what recruited me to Fortive is our approach to talent and how we chessboard talent. And I think many of the stories you've shared through different operating companies, through different segments that we have so many industries we play in, different size of operating companies, for $50 million to like, $1 billion or $2 billion company. And so we're really able to provide people a chance of a fulfilling career and stay with us for 40 years or so, right? And have that meaningful career and great exposure. So that was what was sold to me when I was joining Fortive, and I'm very happy that I'm still here and living it on my own and helping drive that culture as well. And then on FHS, so I joined FHS in August. One reason was our mission. So I could really relate and see how big of an impact we have in the world. And second was a bit more personal, and that's I wanted to support a female president. So the prior operating company I worked for also had a female president. And I wanted my kids to have that experience. And I love right now, Kris, when when my daughter comes from school and you and I are on a call, she calls you the big boss, right? So Mama is a boss, and Kris is the big boss. You're not the big female boss. You are not a female president to her. You're the big boss to her. And I love that both of my kids are getting that exposure from early on, where that's just a normal thing. And by the time they enter the workforce, I want that to be really a normal thing. And whichever small part I can play in that, I would be happy to. But I want to turn the camera on you and ask you, what are you, Miss President, doing to break the bias, and what are you proud to be doing at FHS?
For me, it's an area of great passion, and I spent the first 15 years of my career at Xerox. And Xerox was just an amazing place then for women in business, and had a really indelible impact on me. It was such a positive cultural experience and such a positive experience as a woman and a woman leader. And we look to measure our success here with our engagement survey quarterly. And one of the key questions is around inclusion and acceptance. And one of the things I've been most proud of is we've always scored, top tier, one of the top companies within Fortive, in creating this environment that's open and accepting, where people feel they can bring their true selves, their entire selves to work, and that they can speak truth to power, they can be heard, and they can be accepted, whether male or female, for their background and their unique views. And we try to meet people where they live and try to connect with them and help them feel really comfortable being here. So for me, if we can continue to drive that and continue to build on creating a more diverse culture based on hiring practices and the way that we treat our associates across the board, that will be, for me, something that's continues to be super rewarding in my career today and tomorrow. So, with it, I can't tell you again how much I appreciate you sharing some of your personal views, your history for your career. And I'm excited to share this with the broader group of associates at FHS and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you. Join us.